Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final of NTD Television's 2024 International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition, where we showcase martial artists from around the world performing authentic kung fu forms from China's 5,000 years of history. We have both open-handed and weapons categories, and the top prize is $5,000 plus a sword made by a master sword maker. But to satisfy the judges, contestants must display real, authentic traditional kung fu, not contemporary wushu forms, because this competition is, after all, intended to revive Chinese culture. I'm your host and commentator, Ben Hedges, and let's get into the action.
Welcome to NTD's 8th International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition.
各位选手、各位来宾、各位观众朋友，欢迎大家来到新唐人第8届全世界中华传统武术大赛。
NTD's mission is to restore traditional Chinese culture. Today we hope to present to you the essence of traditional Chinese martial arts, as well as its values and its virtues.
本大赛的目的是在于继承和发扬传统武术精神，弘扬武德，复兴中华传统文化。
Today is NTD's 8th International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition. We held our preliminary rounds in North America as well as Asia Pacific. Yesterday we had our semifinal round. Today is our final round.
我们已经结束了在北美区还有在亚太区的预赛，然后在昨天也已经进行了复赛，今天是我们的决赛。
We'd like to begin by introducing our judges.
让我们现在来介绍一下评委。
Our first judge is our head judge, Mr. Youfu Li.
首先是评委主席总裁判李有甫先生。
Our next judge is Mr. Jun Li.
下一位是评委李军先生。
Our next judge is Mr. Long Fei Yang.
评委杨龙飞先生。
Our next judge is Mr. Jianmin Huang.
评委黄坚敏先生。
And our last judge is Mr. Jie Hong Zheng.
评委曾介宏先生。
We'd like to wish all of our contestants nothing but the greatest of success.
我们预祝今天的所有选手都能有绝佳表现。
And now we'd like to invite to this stage NTD's Executive Vice President, Dr. Samuel Zhou, for the ceremonial striking of the gong.
我们现在有请新唐人副总裁周世宇先生来为我们鸣锣开赛。
Our competition now begins.
本大赛现在开始。
We'll now begin with our junior unarmed division, with our first competitor this morning being number C14 from the U.S., William Li, performing Shaolin Jinggang Quan.
我们现在开始少年拳术组比赛，第一位选手是 C14 选手，来自美国的李佳薇，套路名称少林金刚拳。
Okay, so we're starting off with William Li from the US, and this is the junior unarmed division, male junior unarmed division. And he is showing us a style called Shaolin Jinggang Quan. So this is obviously a Shaolin related style. Jinggang Quan can be translated as diamond fist or Vajra fist, and it is an ancient kung fu style. I'll be giving you a little bit of info about each of the styles that we have on offer today as we go on. Now you can see this style is described as ferocious with fast hand techniques. attack and defense with the hands, and obviously using shouts to increase the power. Not all Kung Fu styles do that, but in this particular style, we have obviously a lot of shouting. You can see this form contains a lot of bow and arrow stance and low horse stance, which is basically that stance you just saw there, where the two legs are equally weighted. There we go, horse stance again, low horse stance there. And the bow and arrow stance, which is one of the core stances of Chinese Kung Fu, especially the northern styles. And that was William Lee from the US performing Shaolin Jinggang Quan, or Shaolin Diamond Fist.
Our next competitor is number C04 from Taiwan, Yu Hong Kao, performing Mai Fu Quan.
下一位是 C04 选手，来自台湾的高宇红，套路名称埋伏拳。
Okay, so in the junior division, it's not split between male and female. So this is Yu Hong Kao from Taiwan, and this form is Mai Fu Quan, which means ambush fist. Okay, so as we can see, it features quite a lot of low stances, high kicks. That was a Chuanzhang technique there. Again, this is a Shaolin-related style. There are two major religious schools of Kung Fu in China, Wudang and Shaolin. So you may have heard of the Shaolin Monastery. Many of the styles have their roots in Shaolin, which obviously comes from the monastery in Henan province. And the Kung Fu then spread across China and even into Japan with karate. So that was Mai Fu Quan, or ambush fist. Yu Hong Kao from Taiwan.
Our next competitor is number C02 from Colombia, Armalali Pinzon, performing Ba Fa Quan.
下一位是 C02 选手，来自哥伦比亚的 Armalali Pinzon，套路名称八法拳。
Okay, so contestant from Colombia here, Mr. Pinzon, who is performing Ba Fa Quan. That translates as 8 methods fist. This is a style that was developed around a little over 100 years ago during the early Republican era, late Qing Dynasty, early Republican era in China. It combines 8 different styles into one. And it is a long fist style, so you can see low and wide stances. We've got the bow and arrow stance and the horse stance. There are some high kicks and fast hand movements, like you can see there. And there's elements of pi gua, which is what you just saw, those sort of slapping hands. You've got also xing yi and a few other styles, well, 8 styles in total mixed into this form. There's 64 movements in this particular form. And it is quite a strenuous form for a practitioner to practice. Most people are pretty out of breath when they get to the end of this. There we go. So that is the Ba Fa Quan, or 8 methods fist. And that was Amalai Pinzon from Colombia.
Our next competitor is number C08 from China, Tianzhen Li, performing Xing Yi.
下一位是 C08 选手，来自中国的李天真，套路名称形意。
So this contestant, Tianzhen Li from China, he's going to be performing Xingyi Quan. Xingyi is one of China's 3 internal styles of Kung Fu, Xingyi Quan, Bagua Zhang, and Taiji Quan. So Xingyi is a very aggressive martial arts style. It moves in straight lines, as you can see here. It's just moving along, as opposed to Bagua Zhang, which moves in circles. But Xingyi, it basically attacks. It doesn't really retreat that much. And you can see he's now going back in a straight line. And it believes in attacking the opponent straight on from the front. The fist techniques in Xingyi are based on the Chinese theory of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. So different to the Western 4 elements, earth, wind, fire, and water, but in China it's metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. And there are 5 basic hand techniques which correspond to those 5 elements. You can see the stances in Xingyi Quan are very different to what we just saw with those northern Shaolin styles. The stances are a lot smaller, less elongated. And it doesn't use a combination of the bow and arrow stance and the horse stance as its main position. It's mostly weighted on the back leg, with the front leg being unweighted or having only 10% of the body weight. So internal styles are associated with relaxation, using the qi or energy. So in general they tend to be quite tranquil, but Xingyi is a more aggressive version of that. So that was Mr. Tianzhen Li from China performing a Xingyi Quan form.
Our next competitor is number C09 from the US, Amy Lee, performing Shaolin Lotus.
下一位是 C09 选手，来自美国的李和美，套路名称莲花拳。
So the name of the form here is Lianhua Quan, Lotus Flower Fist, and this is a Shaolin style or a Shaolin form. This is Amy Lee. She is from the US. Okay, right into a low stance there, bow and arrow stance. So you can see this is going to be a northern style. A lot of low stances, wide, open stances as well. So you can see the difference between the previous Xingyi Quan, which has its roots in Taoist martial arts, and this style, which is from Shaolin. The stances they use as their main stances are quite different. This one has a lot of the stance that we call pu bu, which is the one where it's low down and one leg is stretched out at the front and the weight is on the back leg. Okay, we're into some kicks now. There we go, that's the stance I was just talking about. Okay, so that was Shaolin Lotus Fist. That was Amy Lee from the US.
Our last competitor in this division is number C05 from Taiwan, Unrei Yang, performing Xiaohu Yan.
少年拳术组最后一位选手是 C05 选手，来自台湾的杨恩瑞，套路名称小虎燕。
Okay, so Xiaohu Yan translates as little tiger swallow. Swallow is in the bird. This is a northern style form. You can see a lot of very low stances. fast form as well, and you might not think, but it looks quite strenuous to practice because a lot of the stances are very low with this, which puts a lot of weight on the legs. So you have to be very physically fit to do this kind of kung fu, where almost every stance is very, very low. It's a nice ending. Okay, so that was Enrei Yan, and that form is called Xiaohu Yan, or small tiger swallow, little tiger swallow, as in the bird. So I believe that is it for the junior unarmed category. In the junior category, male and female are together. And our next category should be the female unarmed category.
Now moving on to our female unarmed division with our first competitor number B06 from Taiwan, Yi Chen Shi, performing Plum Blossom Praying Mantis Summary 2.
下面进行女子拳术组比赛，第一位是 B06 选手，来自台湾的施以真，套路名称梅花螳螂摘要二段。
Okay, so this is our female unarmed division. All these contestants are over 18. This is Yi Chen Shi from Taiwan. She is performing a praying mantis form. Now you can recognize the praying mantis with the hand movements mimicking the movements and the shape of the arms of a praying mantis. Obviously interspersed with some more usual punches and hand techniques, but you will see the way she hooks the hand around in just a moment. Praying mantis style was thought up by a guy called Wang Lang, who observed a praying mantis fighting, and he had an enlightenment to create a style based on the movements of the mantis. There we go, we're getting some mantis hand techniques in there. You can see how the hand is sort of hooked around. And so the style not only mimics the hand movements, there we go, but also the tactics of the way a mantis fights, traps its opponent and then attacks, etc. If you want to see praying mantis style, there's a great movie from the 70s called Thundering Mantis, where you can see a lot of that in action. So that was Yi Chen Shi from Taiwan, and that form was Plum Blossom Praying Mantis.
Our next competitor is number B05 from Germany, Hong Feng Yang, performing Xing Yi.
下一位是 B05 选手，来自德国的欧阳宏峰，套路名称形意。
Okay, so this is another Xing Yi Quan form performed by Hong Feng Yang from Germany. Excuse me. So, like we said, Xing Yi is one of China's three internal martial arts: Baguazhang, Taiji Quan, and Xing Yi Quan. Quan means fist, so you're going to hear us say a lot of these martial arts are going to end with the word Quan. There we go. So the stance she's doing now is called Santi Shi, and that is actually the main stance of Xing Yi that people will hold for, say, half an hour, just standing in the stance. The one where the one hand is outstretched, the back leg is weighted. There we go. That's Santi Shi that she just did there. This is a little bit slower than the other one, but that's not necessarily indicative of the quality of the art, just an observation. And Xing Yi is based on the movements of the spear, and it is said to be actually thought up by the Chinese hero Yue Fei in the Northern Song Dynasty. It's about 1,000 years ago. He is said to have thought up Xing Yi Quan for his military officers and Eagle Claw Kung Fu for his regular soldiers. Yue Fei, is a massive hero in Chinese history who attempted to save the Northern Song Dynasty. And he was incredibly effective and won many battles But unfortunately, due to certain political factors, in the end he was unsuccessful, and the north of China fell, and so started the southern Song dynasty. You can see characteristics of Xing Yi Quan. You've got the back leg weighted, and there's a lot of this crouching movement. Again, stances that are pretty different to what you see in Shaolin, arts, long fist arts that have their roots in Shaolin. Okay, and that was Hongfeng Yang from Germany performing a Xing Yi Quan form.
Our next competitor is number B04 from Colombia, Mahoa Shou Rojas, performing Bafa Quan.
下一位是 B04 选手，来自哥伦比亚的 Mahoa Shou Rojas， 套路名称八法拳。
Okay, so this is Bafa Quan, again, 8 methods fist, and this is the second performance of this particular form that we've seen in the competition, so you can compare it to the first. You can see this is a very energetic form, 64 movements. I myself have practiced this particular form in the past, so I'm quite familiar with it. Contains multiple different stances, bow and arrow stance, the low horse stance, then you've got another stance called Xu Bu, which is that one you just saw just a moment ago. We're into some fast Pigua type hand movements. It's a moment of rest there with that, holding that stance for just a couple of seconds, and then we're into more fast kicks and punches. You can actually hear her breathing because this form really gets you out of breath quite quickly. Okay, we're into, this is I think the last section of this form now. It's kind of split into 3 sections. There we go. So that is Bafa Quan, or 8 methods fist. Ms. Rojas from Colombia.
Our next competitor is number B11 from the U.S., Betty Wu, performing Xing Yi.
下一位是 B11 选手，来自美国的吴佳莹，套路名称形意。
Okay, so this is another Xing Yi Quan form. Betty Wu from the US. Okay, there we go, Santi Shi. That is the basic stance of Xing Yi that you see there. Yeah, that's the stance that people hold for, say, half an hour for the training. Back leg has pretty much all of the weight on it. Front leg is totally unweighted. And if you want to see Xing Yi Quan in action in the movies, the movie The One with Jet Li is a really great movie to watch that basically portrays Xing Yi Quan fighting Bagua Zhang. So 2 of China's internal martial arts fighting each other. So that's The One. It was from about 20 years ago, 2003 or 2004, sometime around that time. Another movie you can watch that shows it is The Grandmaster, which is about, actually about Wing Chun, but he fights a Xing Yi master and a Bagua master in that movie. So that's another good one to watch that kind of introduces some Xing Yi Quan. There's a lot of stamping in Xing Yi Quan, and you'll notice that pretty much every hand movement, every time there's a punch, it coincides with a step. You might not have realized that, but take a look at this. There we go. So hand movement with a step, hand movement with a step. Xing Yi Quan doesn't just stand there and twist the body and punch. It actually is always stepping, so always advancing. That's what, one of the characteristics of the style. It's very aggressive and it's constantly advancing. So there we go, a step and a punch together. And there are some moves that also have a stamp in them. And you can see how, okay, so there we've got a little bit of a retreat there. And we advance again. Now another step and hand technique together. And that was Santi Shi to finish, which is the main training stance of Xingyi. So this was Betty Wu from the US performing a Semifinals form.
Our next competitor is number B23 from the US, Robin Deng, performing Xingyi.
下一位是 B23 选手，来自美国的邓小兵，套路名称形意。
Okay, so we have another Xingyi form. It's a very popular martial art, Xingyi Quan, and this is Robin Deng from the US. So you can compare to the previous one we watched, two back to back, so you might be able to see some differences in the techniques. There we go, sinking the qi to begin. Santi Shi. So qi is what Chinese people call energy. And so with internal martial arts, they believe in harnessing the qi, harnessing the body's natural energy. Although if you don't believe in qi, you can just think of it as a way to describe the body mechanics and shifting the weight or the force of the body. There we go. Hand techniques combined with a step, always advancing. Some low punches there. In Xingyi Quan, there are 5 basic hand techniques based on the 5 elements. And Xingyi was actually based on the movements of the spear to begin with. So if you look at these hand movements, you can actually imagine someone holding a spear, the way the two hands move together. It actually comes from the way someone would hold a spear with their 2 hands, except they've removed the spear and we just have punching. There's actually some fascinating videos on YouTube where someone displays how this art came from the spear. So if you have time, you can check it out. You can search it online. Basically, holding a stick or a spear and showing the hand movement, and then showing it open hand, and you can see where it comes from, the root of it. So that was Robin Deng from the US.
Our next competitor is number B09 from Taiwan, Wan Lun Lu, performing Shaolin Lotus.
女子拳术组最后一位选手是 B09 选手，来自台湾的吕婉伦，套路名称莲花拳。
Okay, so the name of this form is Lianhua Quan, or Lotus Fist, and this is a Shaolin form. This contestant is called Wan Lun Lu, and she is from Taiwan. So you can have a look. This is going to be very different to what we just saw with the Xingyi Quan form. You can see we're back to bow and arrow stances and much wider stances. Look at that. Horse stance. There are 5 basic stances in the long fist or northern martial arts that are derived from Shaolin, which would be Ma Bu or horse stance, Gong Bu, bow and arrow stance, Xu Bu, where the back leg is weighted, the front leg has no weight on it, Ding Bu, Ding Zi Bu, nail stance, and Pu Bu. And we can actually see pretty much all 5 of them in this form. I'll try and point them out for you. So that's Gong Bu, that's Ma Bu, horse stance. Ding Zi Bu, Ma Bu, Pu Bu. So yeah, that was 4 of the 5. Xu Bu. There we go, all 5. We got all 5. So yeah, these 5 stances are very integral to Shaolin martial arts. So that was Lotus Fist, Lianhua Quan. by Miss Wanlun Yu from Taiwan, a Shaolin form. And I believe that is it for the female unarmed category. Next, we're going to do Southern Fist. And the reason we have Southern styles in their own category is because Southern styles are quite a lot different to Northern styles. They're much more compact. They don't have the really long, wide stances, high kicks, etc. So,
now
some people may think.
To our Southern Fist division with our first competitor, number 812 from Taiwan, Qi Xian Lin, performing Shuanghu Die.
下面开始男方拳术组比赛。第一位选手是来自台湾的 A12 选手林奇宪，套路名称双蝴蝶。
So some people may think Southern styles are less impressive to look at than Northern styles just because they're not as elegant. They don't have the wide, long stances, high kicks, etc. But in truth, it's just you're looking for different things. Different techniques were popular in the South. The stances tend to be closer together. This one is called 双蝴蝶, which means twin butterflies, this form. I believe this is a crane form. You can see the shaking there, if I'm not mistaken. So the crane style in the south, it's very popular, particularly in Fujian province. So you have Fujian white crane. I'm not sure which style of crane this is, but one of the characteristics of it, you can see those shaking movements, how they push out energy through that shaking and trembling. You'll notice this is mostly open-handed. I don't see a lot of fists here. Another characteristic of the crane as well is that it sticks to its opponent. So if an opponent punches and the crane style blocks, they will generally stick to the arm of the person who punched, of the opponent, because it's easier to feel, it's easier to react through feeling, through sensation, than it is through vision. So the crane likes to stick to its opponent so it can feel the force and then react to it through touch sensitivity. So that was 双蝴蝶, or double butterflies, by Mr. Qi Lin from Taiwan.
Our next competitor is number A32 from Austria, Dennis Steiger, performing 10 elements.
下一位是 A32 选手，来自奥地利的 Dennis Steiger， 套路名称蔡礼佛实行拳。
So we have Dennis Steiger from Austria, and he is performing a form called 10 elements, but the style is Choi Lei Fut. This is another southern style, very popular. Choi Lei Fut, those are the last names of the three masters of the person who created this style. Master Choi, Master Lei, and Master Fut, or in Mandarin it's Cha Li Fo. This style is very effective at fighting multiple opponents. You can see how he uses short breaths on each attack, each hand movement. He's letting out a little bit of air, which is how they create power. They use a reverse breathing technique in many of the southern styles. So you just have a listen to that. There's no loud shouting in this, but it's short exhales of breath as he performs each hand technique and exerts power. Okay, so that was Choi Lei Fut, 10 elements fist.
Our next competitor is number A14 from Taiwan, Wan Han Liang, performing Golden Eagle Gung Fu Form 6.
下一位是 A14 选手，来自台湾的梁文翰，套路名称五爪金鹰拳、六叠拳。
Okay, so we have another contestant from Taiwan here, Mr. Wenhan Liang. This is a Golden Eagle Kung Fu form, or in Chinese it says Wu Zhua, the 5-claw Golden Eagle Kung Fu, form number 6. So we're seeing a lot of Ma Bu in this one, and Gong Bu. Even though this is a southern style, the stances are a little bit lower. We've got that same release of short breaths with each hand technique. A lot of back hammer fist in this one, where you would be punching with the back of the fist. There you go. See that? Back hammer fist technique there. Vertical low hammer fist, and we have some palm strikes too, so a combination of fist strikes and palm strikes. Did you see that grabbing technique? That would be grabbing an opponent's throat. There we go, another hammer fist where you strike with the back of the fist. Okay, that was Mr. Wenhan Liang from Taiwan with a Golden Eagle Kung Fu form.
Our next competitor is number B25 from the U.S., Tiffany Wu, performing Jinggang Quan.
下一位是 B25 选手，来自美国的胡小军，套路名称金刚拳。
Okay, so this is Jinggang Quan, sometimes translated as Buddha's warrior Sept. Now this is a Shaolin-derived Kung Fu form, so we're going to see a lot of the same stances. Horse stance, low horse stance there, Gong Bu, bow and arrow stance, back into horse stance. And you can see the one finger Zen. You see how one finger is up there when they do the horse stance? That is a Shaolin technique. You're amassing energy into one finger, stretching the tendons in the arms. There we go, one finger technique there.
Our next competitor is number B30 from Canada, Angelique Nyang Do, performing Shaolin Mei Hua Quan.
下一位是 B30 选手，来自加拿大的 Angelique Nyondo， 套路名称少林梅花拳。
Okay, so Mei Hua Quan translates as plum blossom fist. And this is a Shaolin form. So you can see we have quite a bit of shouting in this one. Some Kung Fu styles vocalize with shouts, and some just go with short breaths when they exert force. There are some quite ferocious techniques in this. So you can see fist strikes, palm strikes, and elbow strikes in this form. And that was the Shaolin salute there that he finished with. So that was contestant.
Our next competitor is number B07 from Taiwan, Kai Wei Luo, performing Hu Die Chuan Hua.
下一位是B07选手，来自台湾的罗凯威，套路名称蝴蝶穿花。
So this is Kai Wei Luo from Taiwan. Hu Die Chuan Hua is the name of the form, which I believe is going to be a crane form, crane style. Let's have a look and see if that's correct. Yeah, so this looks like a crane form, popular in the south of China, especially Fujian province. You have Fujian white crane. This particular form is called butterflies crossing flowers. And you can see the sort of shaking techniques. It's how they generate power in this style of system. Okay, so we've seen a lot of different styles. We've seen Xingyi, where every hand movement's accompanied by a step. Generate power, the momentum of the body and the qi. You've seen, styles that have short breaths or loud shouts when they, generate power when they do a hand technique. This one sort of comes from shaking. It's quite silent. The crane is, while not completely an internal style, it is a soft style. You could say an internal/external style, where they do talk about qi and being more yielding and not meeting force with force. So a lot of women will practice the crane style. It's not limited to women, but you will see that style, especially in a lot of kung fu movies. You will see it often practiced by women. For example, in the 1977 movie Executioners from Shaolin, the wife does crane style and the husband does tiger style.
Our next competitor is number A13 from Taiwan, Ming Yi Lin, performing Xiao Nian Tou.
下一位是 A13选手，来自台湾的林明义，套路名称小念头。
This is a Wing Chun form, 小念头. It is the first form of the Wing Chun system. And you're going to see why we have a separate southern category now, because this form, when you compare it to some of the northern styles that have a lot of wide stances and high kicks and very energetic. This one is basically just standing in place doing hand techniques. But the judges can tell who is a high-level martial artist and who is not, just from these hand techniques being demonstrated. Wing Chun, it was a style that was created for a woman named Wing Chun, or in Mandarin, Yong Chun. And the legend goes that she was going to get married because a man was trying to force her to marry him. And she reached this deal with this man that she had 1 year to train to fight him, and if she could win in a fight, she wouldn't have to marry him. Okay, sounds like the plot to a movie. In fact, there is a movie called Wing Chun that starred Michelle Yeoh, but it is a real legend from Chinese history. And so this style was developed. She trained under the Shaolin nun Nubmui. That's the Cantonese pronunciation. She's one of the 5 elders who escaped from the burning of the Shaolin temple, and she taught Wing Chun this style. And it's a very simple style that you can learn in a quick period of time. I believe there are only 3 forms. This is the first form, or the first set of movements in the style. And it is a close range style. People often say you could use Wing Chun to fight inside a telephone booth. And one of the famous practitioners of Wing Chun is Ip Man, who is actually Bruce Lee's teacher in Hong Kong. And he is, in contemporary culture, made famous by the Ip Man movies, starring Donnie Yen. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them now. There's one in which he uses this style, Wing Chun, to fight Mike Tyson. And it's actually kind of funny because it's a timed fight. It's a 3-minute fight. I think Mike Tyson signed a contract with them where he wasn't allowed to lose. But their Chinese hero can't lose either. So they made it a timed fight where it sort of ends with a draw, you know. Trying to please all sides there. Obviously Mike Tyson is a heavyweight, so Ip Man may not have been able to beat him in real life. But okay, so that was the first form of Wing Chun. Ming Yi Lin from
Our
Taiwan
next competitor
demonstrating that.
is number A30 from Austria, Paul Huber, performing Tiger and Crane.
下一位是 A30 选手，来自奥地利的 Paul Huber， 套路名称虎鹤双形拳。
Okay, so this is a tiger crane combination style. So we've talked about the crane style. You saw a couple of crane style forms performed. And then there's also the tiger style. So in Shaolin, you have like the five animal styles: tiger, crane, leopard, etc., snake. So this is two of those animal styles combined into one form. So you can see one fist, one open hand. This has both the ferocious styles of the ferocious movements of the tiger and the more yielding, shaking movements of the crane. And in its tactics too, it mimics the way the two animals fight. So you see a lot of what they call, that's a one finger Zen, and you also see a lot of what they call spear hands, the open hand. That is sort of a characteristic of the crane. And then you'll see the more grabbing. This is into some more tiger style stuff now. See, this is the tiger element of the form. Grabs that target the throat, the bicep, the muscles. There we go. That's the tiger. Here, more crane. You see the pecking of the crane's beak. So in certain crane styles, the hand movement it looks kind of similar to praying mantis actually. The hand is mimicking the beak of a crane pecking at the opponent. So you have to strengthen your fingers a lot to do this style. Doing finger push-ups, etc. So that was the tiger crane style combination form performed by Paul Huber from Austria.
Our next competitor is number B24 from the U.S., Elena Meng, performing Wing Chun.
下一位是 B24 选手，来自美国的孟碧红，套路名称咏春。
Okay, so this is another Wing Chun form. And, okay, I recognize this girl. She has a YouTube channel. You can check her out on YouTube. She does a lot of short clips about martial arts on YouTube. And again, this is a Wing Chun form. It may look a little bit less athletic than some of the other forms we've seen today, but the judges can judge how good a contestant is just based on these hand movements. Wing Chun is a close-range fighting style, and okay, so this is a different form to the first one. The first one was Xiao Nian Tou, the first form of Wing Chun. This one does have some stepping. There's 3 forms in the Wing Chun system. This is a more advanced one. Okay, so that was a Wing Chun form by Elena Meng. Do check her out on YouTube. She's got a great YouTube channel that has a load of funny videos about martial arts.
Our last competitor in this division is number A27 from the U.S., Stanley Meng, performing Wing Chun.
So this is
南方
Stanley
拳术
Meng.
组最后一位选手是 A27 选手，来自美国的孟威龙，套路名称咏春。
I'm guessing this is her brother, since they have the same last name, Stanley Meng. And he's also performing a Wing Chun form, possibly the same one that she just did. You can see the Wing Chun stance, how much the feet are turned inwards. Okay, this is characteristic of Wing Chun. Not many other systems have this type of stance where the feet are turned inwards to that degree, okay, in a sort of mid-level horse stance. And then we've got a lot of close-range hand techniques. Wing Chun, like we said, it is a close-range fighting style, heavily based on hand techniques. There are some kicks, but they're generally low kicks. They're going to be kicks to the shins, knees, maybe up to the abdomen, so certainly to the groin, but you don't see high kicks in Wing Chun, all right? No one's kicking the head. It's kicks to the legs, the groin, the waist. All right, we're now into some movements combined with a few more hand techniques. You see there, that was a sort of abdomen level kick. It's about as high as Wing Chun normally goes. You also see something characteristic of it is that a hand technique and a leg technique are sometimes delivered at the same time. So you just saw, well, you saw it there, a kick with a hand technique. There we go, a hand technique and a kick at the same time. That's something you'll see. And if you want to see Wing Chun in action, do check out the Ip Man movies with Donnie Yen. I would start at the beginning, Ip Man 1. You can then go through them. Ip Man 2. Ip Man 3 is the one where he fights Mike Tyson, which is very entertaining. And there we go, that's the end of that form. So Yong Chun in Mandarin, or Wing Chun, that's the Cantonese pronunciation of it. That is another southern form, and that is the end of the southern fist category. So the characteristics of the southern forms, the stances tend to be smaller, it's less acrobatic, less high kicks. So it has its own category because it's something quite different. If you put the southern styles with the northern styles together.
Now moving on to our male unarmed division with our first competitor number A05 from Bolivia, Sergio Torres, performing Drunken Master.
下面开始男子拳术组比赛，第一位选手是 A05， 来自玻利维亚的 Sergio Torres， 套路名称醉拳。
Okay, so this is Sergio Torres from Bolivia. The name of the form is 醉拳, or Drunken Fist. I know they translated it as Drunken Master. I guess that was just the translation that he gave. But Drunken Fist is normally what we would call it. There is a movie called Drunken Master, though, from the late 70s, which is, if you're into Kung Fu movies, it is a great movie to watch to learn about this style. So you can see it mimics drinking a wine bottle. And in the old days, drunken styles, I mean, people did actually drink wine while they were practicing these in order to get into the spirit of the style. And sort of the drinking, it's sort of to mimic being drunk so that you are very unpredictable. Drunken style is not really a full style of Kung Fu in and of itself. Typically someone would learn like a long fist style or a southern style, and then there would be a drunken form that they would learn in addition to what they'd already learned. And if they were in a fight, they would often bring this out at a sort of strategic time to confuse the opponent. Maybe they'd pick up a bottle of wine, drink a few sips, and then pretend they were drunk. At least that's what you see in the movie. So the movie Drunken Master is one of the classic training movies in which Jackie Chan's character, Wong Fei-hung, and Wong Fei-hung is someone you're going to hear a lot about if you're into martial arts, but his character is trained by Sam Seed. I think they call him this old beggar type character who's really drunk all the time. And there we go, drinking the wine bottle again. So you sort of confuse the opponent by appearing clumsy, but then actually showing some really amazing techniques. This guy is very acrobatic. And the drunken style as well is one of the most physical forms to learn. Okay, there's a lot of falling on the ground, a lot of core abdomen work. You've got to be very strong, and it's very tiring to perform this. So a lot of different moves that you both see in Chinese martial arts and also in Chinese classical dance in this form. Oh, there we go, standing up on one leg. That takes a lot of strength to do. He goes back down on one leg again, just using the power of one leg to stand up. Back leg butterfly kick, double butterfly kick. There we go, back into some clumsiness combined with explosive techniques. And you can see how the hand is often held as if it's holding a wine cup. You see that? So that's drinking, but just the hand technique, in a moment you'll see it again, that can be used for striking. It's actually held as if someone's holding a wine cup. And there we go, that's the end of that form. That's pretty long, pretty physical form. Okay, drunken fist. And again, if you want to see it in action in the movies, check out Drunken Master.
Our next competitor is number A31 from the U.S., Zichuan Liu, performing Kaiji Soul Chasing Palm.
下一位是 A31 选手，来自美国的刘子川，套路名称开吉追魂掌。
Okay, so this is Kaiji Quan. The name of the art is Kaiji Quan. You probably haven't heard of this because it's quite a rare art, but it is related to Baji Quan, and it is a soft internal art. It's not one of China's three, main internal arts, Baguazhang, Xingyi Quan, and Taiji Quan, but Kaiji Quan is sort of a rarer version. And Jack Liu, I believe his father is actually a master of this, so what you see was taught to him by his father. He has performed this art in our competition before, and this particular form is called the Soul Chasing Palm. 追魂掌. You see a lot of palm techniques rather than closed fist techniques in this form, combined with a lot of stamping. So you can see there are different ways to generate power in Kung Fu, whether that's a breath, a shout. In this case, we see a lot of hand techniques delivered in conjunction with a stamp. But relaxation is key to many of these forms. So although you see it looks kind of aggressive with those stamp techniques, he's not necessarily tense, because this is, after all, a soft internal style. Okay, then we finish with that final posture. And salute. And that was Jack Liu from the US with Kaiji Soul Chasing.
Our next competitor is number A23 from the US, David Wang, performing Fanzi Quan.
下一位是 A23 选手，来自美国的王喜伦，套路名称番子拳。
Okay, so this is Fan Zixuan, and this is another northern martial art. It features very fast hand techniques for both offense and defense. And this was developed during the Ming and Qing dynasties, so it's a later martial art in Chinese history. It was known by some other names before the Ming dynasty. And according to some of the early training manuals, during the Ming dynasty there was a master named Wang Zhuyuan, and he was taught boxing by some wandering person in the mountains in the 17th century, and he was basically taught what became this martial art later on, so it's Fan Zixuan.
Our next competitor is number A17 from China, Ming Cheng, performing the Shaolin Lotus.
下一位是 A17 选手，来自中国的程明，套路名称莲花拳。
Okay, so we have another Lianhua Quan form. I think we saw this in the junior category. Yeah, the female unarmed category. There's another Shaolin form, so you can see a lot of the classic Shaolin stances. Pu Bu, Gong Bu, bow and arrow stance, and a horse stance. There we go, that's a low horse stance. So this is Shaolin Lotus Fist, 莲花拳. You can see we have both fist and palm strikes, open hand techniques, multiple stances associated with the northern style.
Our next competitor is number A16 from Japan, Seirei Kasai, performing Fanzi Quan.
下一位是 A16 选手，来自日本的立井清灵，套路名称番子拳。
Okay, so we now have another Fanzi Quan, or Fanzi Fist form, the same style we had just before the Shaolin Lianhua Quan form. So this style was popular in the northern China in provinces such as Henan, Hebei, and Shandong. Especially during the Qing dynasty, there was a famous boxer called Li Gongran who practiced this style. You can see it features fast hand movements for both offense and defense. The hand movements are quite compact, and it's known for soft power. That is a Fanzi Quan.
Our next competitor is number A03 from Colombia, Jimmy Garcia, performing Fafa Quan.
下一位是 A03 选手，来自哥伦比亚的 Jimmy Garcia， 套路名称八法拳。
Okay, so we now have another practitioner of Bafa Quan, the 8 methods fist. Not to be confused with Baji Quan, or 8 extremities fist. But 8 methods fist was a style popular around 100 years ago in the late Qing or early Republican era. Created for the military, it was 8 styles fused together into one. It contains Xingyi Quan, Pi Gua, Fanzi, which you just saw. So you might see some of the hand movements from Fanzi Quan, which we just saw a moment ago. Low kick there, followed by back kick, side kick. Some high-speed hand movements. Back hammer fist. That's 64 movements in that form, so you do have to have a good degree of fitness to go through that. And he didn't even seem out of breath.
Our next competitor is number A37 from the US, Guo Long Wang, performing Praying Mantis Boxing Summary 1.
下一位是 A37 选手，来自美国的王国龙，套路名称螳螂拳摘要一段。
Okay, so we have a praying mantis form. It's going to be demonstrated for us by Mr. Guolong Wang from here in the US. Praying mantis style was invented by Wang Lang in Chinese history, I believe, of the Ming Dynasty. I may be wrong, but it mimics the movements of a praying mantis and also the tactics of a praying mantis in its fighting. There are different variations within the praying mantis style, so some look more like a mantis than others. There we go, the mantis hand position, you just saw that. How the hands sort of hook over. It can look a little bit like the crane, just in the hand position. But depending on the style of mantis, you could see a lot of the mantis hands, or you could see less with just more using the tactics that a mantis uses in fighting. The story goes that Wang Lang saw a mantis fighting another creature and enlightened to using the style in his martial arts. He lost in a fight and he then created a new style to improve his country. So that was training on his boxing by Mr. Guolong Wang.
Our next competitor is number A09 from Taiwan, Cheng Yi Chiang, performing ambush fist.
下一位是 A09 选手，来自台湾的江崇义，套路名称埋伏拳。
Okay, so this is Mai Fu Quan, or ambush fist. We saw a couple of people performing this style, I think in the junior division. And this is definitely a less well-known style than some of the others. It's quite rare. If you search information about it, you don't really find that much. But it is a northern Shaolin-derived style. And we should be able to see probably all of the 5 basic stances. Horse stance, there we go. A skipping technique there. Horse stance with a punch, gongbu, or the bow and arrow stance, back into a low horse stance. A lot of open-handed techniques as well in this particular style. There we go, Shaolin salute to finish.
Our next competitor is number A01 from China, Hong Guang Li, performing Baji Quan.
下一位是 A01 选手，来自中国的李洪光，套路名称八极拳。
So this is now Baji Quan. So this is the first contestant we've seen performing this style in today's final so far. Baji Quan means 8 extremities boxing, and it is a very famous style in China and also in Taiwan. Sometimes referred to as bodyguard style because there was a school in Beijing, a lot of the imperial bodyguards did this style, and then also in the Republican era and even into the communist era in China, many of the bodyguards of government officials actually practiced this style. In 1949, when the Republicans fled to Taiwan, many of the Baji Quan practitioners came over because they were bodyguards of the key political figures in the government, and they came over to Taiwan with them, so there's a lot of Baji Quan in Taiwan as well these days, although this contestant is from mainland China. One very famous practitioner of Baji Quan was Li Shuwen, and he did a lot of spear techniques. He was actually called Shen Qiang Li, or God Spear Li, because he was incredibly powerful with the spear. And he also had a great training ethic. He would put his spear outside the door, and every time he went through the doorway, he would do 50 moves of a certain spear move. Obviously, what we saw was the open-handed version of Baji Quan, or 8 extremities boxing. Very famous style in mainland China and in Taiwan, often known as
our
bodyguard
last competitor in this division is number A15 from Taiwan, Ta Yan Liu, performing Xing Yi.
男子拳术组的最后一位选手是 A15 选手，来自台湾的刘大燕，套路名称形意。
Okay, so this is a Xingyi form. We've already seen a couple of people performing Xingyi Quan routines. So I can remind you it's one of China's 3 internal martial arts, the other being Baguazhang and Taiji Quan. We don't have Taiji Quan in the competition because too much is lost with Taiji. There aren't people really who are displaying Taiji that is that close to the original. It's split into family styles, etc. But Xingyi Quan, we allow it in the competition. You can see it is a straight line martial art, so it uses straight lines to attack. It's very aggressive, and hand movements are typically accompanied by a step. Boom, there you go. So every time, every punch is also a step. and that's how they generate power. Momentum of the body and harnessing the body's qi. The main practice method of Xi Yi Quan is called Santi Shi, and it is a standing stance exercise that is typically held for maybe half an hour, even an hour, and it gets quite painful in the legs, but it helps them generate a lot of internal power, soft strength. Even though the art looks quite hard and tense, they are actually relaxed when they practice. It's just it has explosive releases of power. The hand movements are based on the Chinese theory of the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. So once you get into the theories of Xi Yi Quan, it's incredibly intricate. You would use, for example, a water fist method to counter a fire attack. Sounds like a video game, but this is actually how they describe it in those boxing manuals. Contestant, the practitioner isn't necessarily thinking that when they're using the art though, but if you get into the deep philosophy of it, it's based on the theory of the 5 elements. So that was Tai Yan Liu from Taiwan performing in Xi Yi Quan form.
This concludes our weapons division. Our unarmed division will take a 15-minute break and begin again at 11:30 with our weapons division. Competitors in the weapons division, please report to the check-in desk.
今天的拳术比赛就到此结束，我们接下来休息15分钟，11点半的时候开始器械类比赛。器械类的选手，请现在到检录处检录，谢谢。
Okay, so that was all the unarmed division. We had the junior division and we had the male and female unarmed division. We're going to take a little bit of a break now and we will be back in 15 minutes. The weapons.
乱世起兵，以德归正天下，久战蚩尤，平定叛乱，以正止恶。由此，武为止戈之意。从文字来看，拆其戈，以刃置于侧，是制止暴力；横刃于指，是正字。这正和老子使用石帛之器而不用，意思是，即使有以一当十、以一当百的能力和力气而不滥用，却以柔克刚，这是武德之根本。自古以来，天下运行以文武二德而载之。文之德，以文善而顺自然，纳天下；武之德，以武善法自然，容天下。所以由周文王德行天下，武王讨伐无道；有唐太宗造凌烟阁，以扬忠勇之武德；有张三丰创太极，治柔弱水，以柔克刚而平天下勇；由杨六郎、岳飞以武克敌，保家卫国。究其根本，都是以武之技法，施德而容天下。习武之人，信因果，明善恶，止恶扬善，修德向道，是为武德。 五德二字，五为技法，德为根本。德容万物，万物有德则存，失德则亡。有五德者，见善不欺，见恶不惧。不重德者，武不成功。即德行薄的人，武艺是难有成就的。传统武术为武之根源。传统二字重在传，也就是师傅传授其根本，之后薪火相传，延续不断。所以在早期时，传统武术也叫做师传武术。传统武术的产生及流传，是中国传统文化的重要部分。而中国传统文化始于神传，神将武术传给人，是为了让人传承神的恩赐，以德承传技艺，不失根源。
The 2024 NTD 9th International Chinese Vocal Competition is scheduled to take place at Merkin Hall, Kaufman Music Center in New York from September 18th to 21st. The competition specially invites vocalists from the world-famous Shenyun Performing Arts to serve as judges. The prestigious Gold Award is $10,000. Chinese vocal artists aged 18 to 50 are welcome to register.
The glory of piano masterpieces from the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic periods. New Tang Dynasty Television invites you to join the 2024 NTD International Piano Competition. Together, we preserve and revitalize the art of authentic classical piano music. October 14th to the 19th at the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. Apply now at piano.ntdtv.com.
The performance was enchanting, completely captivating on so many different levels.
From the beginning to the end, just hypnotizing.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It touches you. It really does. Every American needs to see it.
Thank you very much to the director and whoever created it.
Is just amazing. I don't even know what astounding. I don't know another word to describe it.
In due parole, divino.
And the expertise of the dancers was really, really strong.
The men, when they jump, they just popped right off the stage.
So athletic and so flexible.
The ladies, how they moved was just, they were just floating on air, and that was really special to see.
Everyone moves as one person, and I thought they executed that wonderfully. It was just gorgeous.
And then the orchestra, it kept you in the show.
And just to hear all of the Chinese instruments meshing so beautifully with the Western instruments, it was so magical.
To know that it was live music was really fantastic.
The colors are so spectacular.
The saturation of colors that contrast each other and the backgrounds are made to sort of amplify that. It makes you feel good just to see the image of it all unfold.
The animation is fantastic. The screens and how the characters are animated come down and then all of a sudden they pop out.
It's sort of transformed it into this whole other plane.
The music and the dance and just being able to see everything, but the stories behind it and how they develop it without saying anything is just amazing.
What you're seeing in Shenyun is an educational experience. You get to learn a little bit about Mandarin. You get to learn a little bit about ethnicity, a little bit about culture.
We're learning so much and being entertained all at the same time.
You think you're just seeing movement and grace, but you're actually getting a message that's stronger about how to live and how to be on this planet. And it's not that complicated, right? To be kind, to be generous, to be compassionate.
Shenyun is trying to reestablish a brilliant heritage of 5,000 years of culture, dance, music, and costume. This is the real China, and it's being suppressed.
This is something that is to make people spiritual and to be the best possible versions of themselves and live in this enlightened way. And you're persecuted for that. And that was one of the things that really hit me from the performance.
It's bringing the heart of true China to the public. It was beautiful.
It's just beautiful. And you go away feeling with a smile in your heart from it.
As somebody who's worked with major artists, like I said, who's watched months and months of rehearsal come to fruition on stage, their execution has been perfect. Absolutely outstanding.
It's incredible. You cannot describe that in words. You have to see it.
Totally supported.
We didn't want to miss this. Have to come. Life-changing.
Come see it.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
It's a must-see show.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Multiple times.
Everyone should see this. We need this in our lives.
I subscribed to Epoch Times some time ago, and once I cannot help but fall on a title called How Humankind Came to Be. It just makes you realize that we're a speck of sand on a beach.
When I finished that article, I had tears of joy. When I read it, I was like, wow, because it resonated with me.
It hit me. I felt like, yeah, that's what I think too, you know? I really kind of enjoyed reading the part about the karma, you know, working off the bad karma.
That spoke to me in a language different than you hear in traditional biblical discourse, but the essence is the same.
It gave hope that there is a presence, there is a force.
Look into it. It feels like the right thing to do.
Presenting the heritage of traditional Chinese martial arts, fostering martial ethics, and reviving the true tradition. The 2024 NTD International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition will be held August 30th to September 2nd at the Village School in New Jersey. Semifinals and finals tickets are on sale. To buy tickets, please call 1-888-477-9228.
The Kindness is Cool Video Awards are back for their second year. Record and nominate acts of kindness, both big and small, from individuals, families, and communities. Submit your videos on ganjingworld.com with the hashtag KindnessIsCool. Win a $10,000 grand prize and be featured on a New York Times Square billboard. Visit ganjingworld.com and start sharing today. Kindness is cool.
The 7th NTD International Piano Competition will take place at the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. Pianists from around the world will come together to revive the great piano masterpieces. Join us on this uplifting journey. The semifinals, finals, and the winner's concert will be open to audiences and live streamed from October 17th to the 19th. Get tickets now at 212-501-3330.
The performance was enchanting, completely captivating on so many different levels.
From the beginning to the end, just hypnotizing.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted. It touches you. It really does. Every American needs to see it.
Thank you very much to the director and whoever created it.
Is just amazing. I don't even know what astounding. I don't know another word to describe it.
In due parole, divino.
And the expertise of the dancers was really, really strong.
The men, when they jump, they just popped right off the stage.
So athletic and so flexible.
The ladies, how they moved was just
They were just floating on air, and that was really special to see.
Everyone moves as one person, and I thought they executed that wonderfully. It was just gorgeous.
And then the orchestra, it kept you in the show.
And just to hear all of the Chinese instruments meshing so beautifully with the Western instruments, it was so magical.
To know that it was live music was really fantastic.
The colors are so spectacular.
The saturation of colors that contrast each other, and the backgrounds are made to sort of amplify that. It makes you feel good just to see the image of it all unfold.
The animation is fantastic. The screens and how the characters are animated come down, and then all of a sudden they pop out.
It's sort of transformed it into this whole other plane.
The music and the dance and just being able to see everything, but the stories behind it and how they develop it without saying anything is just amazing.
What you're seeing in Shenyun is an educational experience. You get to learn a little bit about Mandarin. You get to learn a little bit about ethnicity, a little bit about culture.
We're learning so much and being entertained all at the same time.
You think you're just seeing movement and grace, but you're actually getting a message that's stronger about how to live and how to be on this planet, and it's not that complicated, right? To be kind, to be generous, to be compassionate.
Shenyun is trying to reestablish a brilliant heritage of 5,000 years of culture, dance, music, and costume. This is the real China, and it's being suppressed.
This is something that is to make people spiritual and to be the best possible versions of themselves and live in this enlightened way. And you're persecuted for that, and that was one of the things that really hit me from the performance.
It's bringing the heart of true China to the public. It was beautiful.
It's just beautiful, and you go away feeling with a smile in your heart from it.
As somebody who's worked with major artists, like I said, who's watched months and months of rehearsal come to fruition on stage, their execution has been perfect. Absolutely outstanding.
It's incredible. You cannot describe that in words. You have to see it.
Totally supported.
We didn't want to miss this. Have to come. Life-changing.
Come see it.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
It's a must-see show.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Multiple times.
Everyone should see this. We need this in our lives.
Back to NTD's 2024 Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition. A top prize of $5,000 plus a sword made by a master sword maker. We've seen all of the open-handed competition earlier this morning. We just had a little bit of a 15-minute break, and now we are back for all of the weapons categories. So we've got junior weapons, and then we've got the male and female weapons categories, and this is where you're going to see some of the most exciting stuff of the day. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's get right into the action. And I'm your host, Ben Hedges. I will be commentating throughout the competition today. So they're just getting started at the location. So we're going to cut to the live feed as soon as we have that.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now going to restart with our junior weapons category.
欢迎回来，我们现在要开始少年器械类比赛。
Our first competitor is number C06 from Taiwan, Shuo Yang, performing Siping Staff.
少年器械类第一个选手是 C06 选手，来自台湾的杨恩硕，套路名称四平棍。
Alright guys, so we are getting into the junior weapons division right now, and this is our first contestant, Shuo Yang from Taiwan, and he's performing a staff form, Siping Staff. Now the staff is often called the grandfather of all weapons. In Shaolin, it is the first weapon you learn, and they often use this as their weapon of preference too, because the fact that it doesn't have a blade. So Buddhist monks are against killing, and thus they like to use the staff because it's seen as a more compassionate weapon. You just beat some with it, knock them out, but you're not going to kill them with it, most probably, as long as you have the required restraint or martial virtue, which is what our competition is all about. You can see this is a long staff. You're going to see a few shorter staffs later on, and there's a lot of different types of each weapon. So, but this staff is called gun. Okay, so it's longer. You're going to see biangan later on, which is a whip stick. That's only about 4 feet long. This one looks more like 6 to 7 feet. A long staff. We're seeing a lot of wide stances in this form, bow and arrow stance, a lot of spinning the staff. And this, as you've seen, the staff, hits with the staff can often be combined with kicks as well. So you have all the same stances that you would have in the open-handed forms. The only difference is you have a weapon in your hands. Back in Chinese history, Kung Fu actually would have mostly been weapons forms. So you have things like Xing Yi Quan, which is based on the movements of the spear. The spear actually came first, and the open-handed form came later. So back in history, weapons forms were much more common. So that was Siping Kun, or Siping Staff, and En
Our next competitor is number C07 from Taiwan, Xuan Lun Liang, performing Chun Qiu Da Dao.
下一位选手是 C07 选手，来自台湾的梁宣伦，套路名称春秋大刀。
So this is 春秋大刀, which means spring and autumn big knife. So the dao in Chinese, that is another one of the 4 most common weapons. Okay, so you have the staff, the knife, the sword, and the spear. These are the 4 most common weapons in all of Chinese Kung Fu. And dao, it means knife. You can see this one is basically a knife on the end of a long stick, okay? But actually what you would call a broadsword, a sort of curved sword that's only sharp on one side, that is also a knife in Chinese culture, okay? It's also a dao. So this is the da dao, or big knife, which is basically a curved knife on the end of a stick. This is a heavy weapon to use as well, so you do have to have quite a lot of strength for this one. You see the movements are a little bit slower than you would see with a smaller knife or sword. And this one is not one of the 4 major weapons in Chinese Kung Fu, so this is a little bit more of a speciality weapon. So someone would typically start with the staff, maybe go on to the dao or knife, okay, the dan dao single knife. And then after that, they might progress to learning this or another weapon of their choice. But in Kung Fu schools, you will definitely often see this weapon on the weapons rack, and it's one that a lot of people are curious about. It is generally suited to bigger people, larger, sort of more heavyweight, strong practitioners, because it is heavy. And back in ancient China, you could use this in war to attack horses or tigers that attack the Shaolin Temple. It gives you a bit more range because the knife is on the end of a stick. That's the angle of the form there. Salute with the weapon to finish. Obviously you can't do the typical normal Shaolin salute, so generally the contestant will cup their weapon.
Our next
and do a bow.
competitor is number C12 from China, Diana Huang, performing whip stick.
下一位是 C12 选手，来自中国的王宣迪。
Okay, so this is the whip stick.
边杆。
This is the whip stick, or biangan. And you've seen a staff that was about 6 feet long. This one is typically about 4 feet. Actually, I think because she is younger and a little shorter, this might be even shorter than 4 feet. And it is a little bit of a flexible staff, okay? It's made by a bamboo pole. And you're going to see a staff form, but there's also a lot of different moves in here that could easily be sword moves or moves with other weapons. You see that left hand was mimicking the shape of a sword, the 2 fingers there. was a period of time in China where weapons were illegal, I believe, in the late Qing dynasty. So if you had a stick such as this just lying around, you could easily practice sword techniques or knife techniques with your stick, and it wouldn't look like anything suspicious was going on. It's just a walking stick, or it's just a stick laying around. And obviously this is part of still the same family of weapons, the staff, which is called the grandfather of weapons in the Chinese martial arts world, because it's typically, in most systems, this would be the first weapon that you would learn, whether that's in Shaolin or other martial arts that are taught in society in China. So a little bit of a slashing move there that looks like something a little more like you would do with a knife, with a dao. Final dao with the whipstick and the arm.
Our next competitor is number C13 from the U.S., Ming Li Dai, performing whipstick.
下一位是 C13 选手，来自美国的戴明利，套路名称鞭杆。
Okay, so this is another routine with the same weapon, okay, the biangan, or whipstick. He looks a little bit taller, so you can see his stick is slightly longer, probably about 4 feet. The way to measure it with these, if you're interested, is that if the stick touches the ground, it should come up to your elbow. And you can see it pretty much goes to his elbow on his right arm. And you hold the stick about 1/4 of the way along the stick, 1/4 to 1/3, depending on how long your forearm is. You can see there's multiple different types of movements with this stick. You can block with it using the middle of the stick. You've got moves that are sort of like stabbing and slashing that would work with the stick, but also would work well with a sword or a knife. But obviously if you had a sword or a knife, you wouldn't be able to grasp it with both hands, because you would have a handle and then a sharp blade. So there are obviously moves with these sticks that you cannot do with a bladed weapon. It's a little bit of a routine with both hands holding the stick, so obviously something that is unique to the whipstick. See many of the familiar stances in this form. That was just the bow and arrow stance there. There it is again. Gong Bu. Bow and arrow stance. And a low horse stance there. Ma Bu. Okay, and then a final bow with the hands clasping the stick.
Our last competitor in this division is number CO3 from Germany, Pia Trautner, performing Sung Pei Sao.
少年器械组最后一位选手是 C03 选手，来自德国的 Pia Trautner， 套路名称双匕首。
Okay, so this is a little bit of a different weapon. This is the double daggers. And this contestant is Pia Trautner from Germany. So you can see we start off holding the daggers in one hand, and then presumably she is going to transition later to one dagger in each hand. There we go. Now with any double weapon, double swords or double daggers, you have to be very careful that you do not cut your own arm off, okay, because you have a weapon in each hand. So this is definitely more of an advanced skill, okay, so anything like shuang dao, which would be double knife, you have to coordinate your arms very carefully so you don't have one arm in front and then accidentally slash with your other arm and cut your arm off or slash yourself. So definitely an advanced routine. Bruce Lee also liked to practice double dagger styles in the past. Okay, and that's the end of the routine. And that is Pia Trautner from Germany with the double daggers. Okay, so we should be coming into the adult weapons now. I believe it will be maybe the female first.
Now moving on to our female weapons division with our first competitor, competitor number B10 from China, Wendy Wang, performing Qimeng Sword.
下面开始女子器械类比赛，第一位选手是 B10选手，来自中国的王静，套路名称奇门剑。
Okay, so this is the straight sword. Okay, we haven't seen this weapon before in the competition yet, well, in today's final yet. And this is one of the 4 main weapons in the Chinese martial arts, the straight sword, or jian as it's called. And this one is often referred to as the gentleman of the Chinese weapons. And by that, it is a very elegant weapon. It has a lot of finesse, and it's considered one of the harder ones to master, or one of the hardest ones to master. You will often see one hand, has 2 fingers pointed like that. There you go. That is sort of the characteristic movement or the characteristic pose of the jian, or straight sword, is to have the sword in one hand and 2 fingers in the other hand, which kind of balances out the body, okay, because you mimic having a sword in the other hand with the 2 fingers. If you want to see the Chinese straight sword in action, check out the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where you see the warrior Li Mubai with the Green Destiny sword, which is like this magical sword which whoever has it is a very formidable opponent. Obviously you have to be good at Kung Fu in the first place, but it is a very powerful sword. And these swords are tough to manufacture as well, because you have to fold the steel many, many times to create a good quality sword. Okay, so these were not mass manufactured during Chinese history like the dao or knife were. Okay, we'll probably see a broadsword a little bit later on. I'm not sure if we have anyone doing the broadsword or the knife, but the curved swords were often used by the military, whereas the straight sword would be sort of your wandering Taoist in the mountains would carry a straight sword for personal protection. Maybe the generals would have straight swords, but it was considered a more expensive weapon and a weapon that took a lot longer to master. The poet Li Bai in the Tang Dynasty was a big fan of the straight sword. He would carry a sword with him on his wandering throughout China. The straight sword is sharp on both sides, so it's not like the knife where you can actually touch one side of the sword. This is sharp on both sides, so you can see when she held it against her back just a moment ago, she has to be very coordinated to have the flat edge of the sword pressing against the body, because you can't touch the edges. So that was Wendy Wang with the Qimeng Jian, or Qimeng
Our next competitor
sword.
is number B27 from Germany, Si Cao, performing Liu He Dao.
下一位是 B27选手，来自德国的曹思，套路名称六合刀。
Okay, so we have a knife routine, a broadsword routine. This is called 六合刀, or 6 harmonies knife. I guess Westerners would call this a sword. We call it a broadsword or a curved sword. And you can see it's actually only sharp on one side. So you can see how she's holding it against her arm. That is because the back side of the sword is not sharp. All right, so you can actually have it touch your body. And you can see that there's many moves where the sword will touch the back of your body, like how she was just winding it around her back and her neck just a moment ago. Your other hand that's not holding the sword can also touch the back of the sword. You can block with it. And this weapon is often referred to as the general of the Chinese weapons, okay, as in military general. And it's used a lot, like we said earlier, it's used a lot in the army because these are much cheaper to manufacture, or at least in Chinese history they were. And you can pick one up in Chinatown for $20 actually, if you want. Well, with inflation, maybe it's $30 now, but the one I have at home cost me $20. As opposed to a straight sword, which I paid about $150 for. Obviously, there's different levels of quality in different swords, and if you get one, certain swords made by master sword makers are going to be very expensive indeed. So you can see that this is more of a slashing weapon. Okay, there you go, slashing movements. It's not so much of a stabbing weapon, okay, because the sword is not that. It's still a little bit flexible. Of course, the ones that the army used would be less flexible than ones that are used for practice, but it's still more of a slashing weapon than a stabbing weapon. And typically, you would slash your opponent, and then they would bleed to death, which is obviously horrific, but that's how things are in warfare. So that was the Liu He Dao, or 6 harmonies knife. Taking that final bow, you can see how they bow with the knife held against one arm.
Our next competitor is number B12 from the U.S., Lisa Lee, performing Qimeng sword.
下一位是 B12 选手，来自美国的李丽萍，套路名称奇门剑。
Okay, so we now have the Qimeng Jian again. So this is, I assume that this lady is from the same school as the previous lady before the knife. We have a few people performing this form. Qimeng Jian, Qimeng sword. So you can see the difference between the Dao and the straight sword, how she's not bringing it around the back of her body like you saw with the knife, but it is a lot more, you could say, elegant, and there's a lot more moves where the point of the sword is actually stabbing, whereas with the Dao, it's a lot more about slashing. There we go, there's a stabbing move there combined with a back kick. This is a sort of defensive move, rotating the sword. You see the characteristic 2 fingers, okay? They don't do that with the Dao, with the knife. And this weapon is associated heavily with Wudang Mountain. So if you watch the movie Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, the warrior Li Mubai is from Wudang, which is a sacred mountain in Taoism where they have a lot of Taoist monasteries, and a lot of Kung Fu comes from there. The immortal Zhang Sanfeng, who is the creator of Tai Chi, also was on that mountain perfecting martial arts. And there are Tai Chi sword forms that use the straight sword, or jian. It is the gentleman of the Chinese weapons, the one with the most finesse and the most elegance, and also the hardest to master. So we've actually already seen 3 out of the 4 primary Chinese weapons. Okay, so we've seen the staff, a couple of different types of staff. We've seen the Dao, or knife, broadsword, and we've also seen the straight sword, which is what you're seeing now. The 4th weapon is actually the spear, and I don't think we have any spears in the final. Actually, yes, we do. We do have a spear coming up in the men's weapon. A couple of different people doing spear routines. So you're actually going to see the stick, the knife, the sword, and the spear. All 4 of the main weapons in Chinese Kung Fu. And that's the little salute at the end. Characteristic 2 fingers in the right hand, and cupping the sword to bow to the audience and the judges.
Our next competitor is number B17 from the U.S., Juan Alina Marcelas Jin, performing whipped stick.
下一位是 B17 选手，来自美国的金欢，套路名称边杆。
Okay, so this is another whip stick, or biangan form. Like we said, the whip stick is a short staff weapon, and it's about 4 feet long. Coming up to one's elbow when it's held against the floor. You can see the form features both attack and blocking movements with the stick. Some moves do mimic the movements of other weapons, such as the knife, and some movements, particularly the ones where it's held with both hands, could obviously only be done with the staff or with the spear. So you can see that stabbing movement, you could easily replace that with a spear and it would still be able to be effective. But you can still stab with the staff. It's just a blunt force weapon rather than a blade. Staff weapons, like we said, are called the grandfather of the Chinese weapons. That's their term. And they were the weapon of choice of Shaolin monks for the fact that they have no blade. So if you want to be compassionate, you want to save all beings like they do, you don't want to create karma through killing, then, you know, if someone does something wrong, attacks the temple, you just knock them out with a staff rather than kill them. You're creating a little less karma for yourself. That's what they believe in the Buddhist school that they practice. You can see some moves in here that are very similar to what we saw with the straight sword actually just a moment ago. Okay, and this is our final bow with the whipstick in hand.
Our next competitor is number B16 from the US, Francis Gui, performing Qimeng Sword.
下一位是变妖六选手，来自美国的 Francis Gui， 套路名称奇门剑。
Okay, so this is Qimeng Jian again. So we're basically alternating. For about 3 times, we're alternating back and forth between Qimeng sword and whipstick, and also the knife. So we are back to the gentleman of the Chinese weapons, okay, the straight sword, or jian. Okay, you can see how she holds the sword in one hand with the arm outstretched, and then the other hand makes that 2-finger posture, that 2-finger position, which actually sort of balances out the body when the sword is being thrust out in one direction. Typically you thrust out the other hand in the other direction to create balance. Chinese martial arts is heavily about balancing the yin and the yang, maintaining harmony in the body. So often you'll notice when you move in one direction, you have another limb moves in the other direction. Just like when you punch in Chinese Kung Fu, the hand going out goes outwards, but the other hand typically pulled back to create balance in that punch. So the straight sword, or jian, is considered the gentleman of the Chinese weapons. It is the one with the most finesse, also one of the hardest to master. You need many thousands of hours practicing with the jian to master it, as opposed to a lot less with the staff or the dao, the knife. Those two are considered the easiest, whereas the spear and the sword are more advanced out of the 4 most common weapons in Chinese Kung Fu, which is the staff, the broadsword, the straight sword, and the spear. Straight sword is sharp on both sides, and you also have stabbing movements with the sword. So it can be used for stabbing and slashing. Okay, and that's our final pose with the sword held behind the back, 2 fingers outstretched in the right hand. And then with weapons, like we said, we do the bow, cupping the sword or cupping the weapon. because we have a weapon in one hand.
Our next competitor is number B21 from China, Rachel Ge, performing whipstick.
下一位是 B21 选手，来自中国的葛瑞，套路名称鞭杆。
Okay, so now we have another whipstick form, Rachel Ge from China. You can see the length of the stick there, it comes up to her right elbow, about 4 feet tall. Any staff-like weapons in Chinese Kung Fu. They're generally referred to as the grandfather of all weapons, the first type of weapon you'll learn in most Kung Fu systems, certainly in Shaolin. We're seeing some interesting footwork in this. It's not just basic stances of horse stance or gongbu, bow and arrow stance, but we're seeing a lot of crossing footwork and backwards steps. And some kicks combined with the stick techniques. With the whipstick, the other hand, when it's not holding the stick, is typically in an open-handed position. You can contrast that with the straight sword, where you have the hand held with 2 fingers and the other 2 bent, 2 straight fingers, whereas this is an open-handed position. Final down, here's the stick.
Our next competitor is number B29 from Germany, Ellen Opferman, performing Qimeng Sword.
下一位是 B29 选手，来自德国的欧阳龙女，套路名称奇门剑。
Okay, so now this contestant from Germany, Ellen Opferman. This is another Qimeng sword, straight sword form. She has been in the competition several years in a row, so she's actually a regular that we have at the NTD competition. And actually we've seen her grow up. I think she first started joining when she was quite young, several years ago, 5 or more years ago, as a young kid. Now she's competing in the female adult division. Straight sword with a back kick and a defensive move circling the weapon. So you can see many of the same techniques that we saw in the past 3 Qimeng sword routines. I'm guessing some of these people were from the same martial arts school. 2 of them are from Germany. Obviously the judges will be making the decision as to which they feel have the highest level techniques and which stuck closest to a traditional style, because that is what we value at this competition. Sticking close to the spirit and theories of your given style. That's new. No one else, no one else threw the sword and caught it. Okay, and we have our final salute there and final bow.
Our next competitor is number B08 from the U.S., Megan Westerman, performing Shaolin Damo Jian.
下一位是 B08 选手，来自美国的 Megan Westerman， 套路名称少林达摩剑。
Okay, so Damo was the first patriarch of Zen Buddhism who came to the Shaolin Temple in around the 600 AD or so. And he's the one who meditated for 9 years in front of in a cave, and then came up with exercises that he taught the monks and would later become Shaolin Kung Fu. So this is Damo Jian, right? Shaolin, I think the name for Damo in English, they use the Indian name Bodhidharma, so the Bodhidharma sword. And it's actually rare in Shaolin to have the straight sword, okay? So Shaolin is a lot more associated with the staff, the knife. Shaolin does have sword routines, like the one you're seeing here, but it's a lot more rare. See, they've got the red tassel on the end of the sword. Some other styles with straight swords don't necessarily have that. And that's typically to confuse the opponent, so you can't see exactly where the blade of the sword is because you notice the red tassel more. Some say that the tassel originally is white and it gets stained with the blood of your enemies to become red. No comment on that. But this is the Shaolin straight sword, okay, Damo or Bodhidharma straight sword. You can see they're using the same two-fingered technique on one hand. But it's a little more energetic, isn't it, than the previous Qimeng straight sword that we were seeing. So you can see a little bit more of the influence of the sort of more hard external Shaolin Kung Fu in this routine. Whereas the other straight sword forms are often more associated with Wudang, with the Taoist martial arts, which are sort of more soft and flowing. Whereas this, we're definitely seeing that sort of external, more hard, little bit more tense, you know, Shaolin style. Although saying that, she's doing a few soft and flowing movements now, but we're constantly coming back to that more hard, sudden expulsions of energy and short breaths. There we go. That's our final pose. And bow with the sword.
Our last competitor in this division is number B19 from China, Sophie Li, performing whipstick.
女子器械类最后一位选手是 B19 选手，来自中国的李梦蔚，套路名称鞭杆。
Okay, so this is the final contestant in the women's weapons division, Sophie Li, and this is another whipstick form. This, I believe, is the same form that a few of the other contestants practice, so you can compare it with what we saw before. And the judges will be grading the contestants on their movements, but also factors like where the eyes are looking, the intent behind a movement, and also how close it sticks to what the traditional style of using this weapon should be. So you can see the whipstick is a very versatile weapon. And you can use it to practice a variety of different moves that are often found in other weapons, such as that slashing that you might see with a dao or knife. And I recognize a couple of movements in this form that could even be done with a straight sword. So there's our final bow with the whipstick. That's contestant Sophie Li from China. So we'll now be moving into the male weapons division.
We're now moving on to our male weapons division with our first competitor, competitor number A04 from Colombia, Mauricio Pinzon, performing 7-star praying mantis straight sword.
下面进行男子器械类比赛，也是今天的最后一个组别。第一位选手是 A04 选手，来自哥伦比亚的 Mauricio Pinzon， 套路名称7星连环剑。
Okay, so this is a straight sword form from within the Shanxi praying mantis, 7-star praying mantis system. So obviously with the sword you can't really see the praying mantis very much because you can't really see the mantis hands at all because we're using a weapon, but many systems, no matter what they are, whether they're imitating animals, etc., will have weapons forms. So this is the straight sword as in the praying mantis system. And it's a specific praying mantis system from Shanxi province. So don't get that confused with the more regular mantis that you may see in movies such as the thundering mantis or other praying mantis you might have seen. This is quite an energetic form, although it does have a softness and a roundedness in there as well. The movements are less abrupt and hard than we saw with the Shaolin straight sword form. That's our ending and our final salute. So that was the 7-star praying mantis straight sword.
Our next competitor is number A36 from Canada, Ian Lai, performing Shaolin Meihua Spear.
下一位是 A36 选手，来自加拿大的李奇峰，套路名称少林梅花枪。
Okay, so this is the spear, and we now complete the set of the 4 most common Chinese weapons. Okay, the spear is called the king of Chinese weapons. Very useful in battle. My goodness, that's a loud shout. So, and this is sort of the traditional spear that you'll see in most kung fu schools. It's about 7 feet, I believe, maybe 7-8 feet long. So the average man is going to be around 6 feet. So it's just 1 or 2 feet above your head. Normally the spear always has that red tassel on just below the blade. And that helps confuse the opponent, helps you not be able to quite see where the spear is, because obviously the spear bends, so that tassel is not always in line with where the blade is. But also another function of that in the past was the red tassel would show the elite troop status. Okay, the color of the tassel would be different depending on where you were in the army. And in Chinese history, there were many, many different types of spears, varying in length from around 8 feet, even up to around 20 feet. Okay, very long spears.
Our next competitor is number A10 from Taiwan, Xiaoxuan Chen, performing the Shaolin Spear with 6 unifications.
下一位是 A10 选手，来自台湾的陈少轩， 套路名称少林大六合枪。
So this is a Shaolin spear routine, and it is the Six Harmonies spear. And there were many, many different types of spear in Chinese history. You see, this one is a little bit longer than the previous contestant. The previous contestant had a spear that was probably made of waxwood, perhaps a little bit more flexible. The shaft of this one looks a little bit thicker than our previous contestant. Now, spears were used heavily on battlefields in China. Okay, so they were one of the two most common weapons on the battlefield, would be the spear and the dao, or knife, Chinese broadsword, that curved sword that we've already seen. And spears were also incredibly cheap to make. If you think about the cost of making a spear, it's a very little amount of metal. It's just the head of it is made of metal, and then the main part of the spear is made of wood. Many of the wushu spears used in competition are made of waxwood, which is a sort of very bendy wood. But the ones used in combat, in battle, particularly for battle on horses, etc., would have been a bit more rigid. And spear, like we said, is called the king of Chinese weapons. It gives you a very long range, okay, because if you've got an 8-foot weapon, you can actually stab people before they come anywhere near you. If you've got a 20-foot spear, that's going to be even better. Although the weapon obviously poses its own challenges, because once someone gets close range, you may need to use kicks and other strikes to get them away from you. So that was the Shaolin Six Harmonies spear.
Our next competitor is number A07 from Germany, Eike Opfermann, performing Qimeng sword.
下一位是 A07 选手，来自德国的欧阳德克，套路名称奇门剑。
So this is the brother of Ellen Offermann, who we saw in the female division, Eike Offermann. He's also been joining this competition since he was very young. So in the past he was competing in the junior division, now he's in the adult division. And this is the Qimeng straight sword, the gentleman of Chinese weapons. You see he's also got the Taoist hairstyle there, the sort of man bun that is often associated with Taoism. A lot of Taoists wear their hair up in a bun. I wonder if he's making the effort there, or whether he just coincidentally has that style. So we can see straight sword techniques. The characteristic left hand is in the two-fingered mode, balancing out the sword techniques. Stabbing move with a back kick, followed by some defensive circling of the sword there. Like we said, straight sword is often associated with Wudang martial arts, so it's more associated with the Taoist martial arts, although Shaolin does have sword routines, like we saw with that Dam or Jian, or Bodhidharma Shaolin sword in the female division. But most straight sword forms are going to be Taoist in nature, identifying with Wudang or with Tai Chi. The founder of Tai Chi, of course, is Zhang Sanfeng, the legendary immortal who spent time at Wudang Mountain. There are many forms and writings that date back to him. See some circular footwork there, circle walking. Circle walking is associated with Bagua Zhang, which we didn't have anyone performing Bagua in this competition this year. But it is a martial art that moves in circles and practices getting behind the opponent. But you will see circle walking footwork in other forms of martial arts, not just Bagua. Bagua uses it as its main training method, walking in a circle. As you'll see smaller sections of circle walking forms in other arts. There we go. throwing the sword at the end, and that's our final pose and our bow.
Our next competitor is number A25 from China, Thomas Wang, performing whip stick.
下一位是 A25 选手，来自中国的王耀峰，套路名称鞭杆。
Okay, so this is Thomas Wang. He is our contestant who learned from one of Bruce Lee's students in the past, although what he's portraying, what he's showing in the competition here is traditional martial arts, so not what he learned from his master, who was a student of Bruce Lee. He was interviewed yesterday talking about how traditional martial arts is different to modern martial arts, and he's been really getting into it to join our competition. Okay, so we have the biangan, whip stick form. You'll notice many of the stances we've seen before, like the bow and arrow stance, horse stance there, low horse stance. Like we've said with this whip stick, many of the moves could be performed with a sword or knife. So you could easily disguise training for other weapons using this stick. There's our final pose.
Our next competitor is number A24 from China, Michael Zhao, performing whip stick.
下一位是 A24 选手，来自中国的赵家树，套路名称鞭杆。
Okay, so we now have another whip stick form. Michael Zhao, also from China. So I assume this is going to be the same form as we saw from Thomas Wang. So you can compare the two. Yeah, it's the same form. Okay, we're into this two-handed section now. Both hands on the stick, or at least we were. With the whip stick, the other hand is held as an open palm when you're not using it. So there we go, here's that two-handed section with the stick. So the whip stick, or biangan, is a staff weapon. Staff weapons in Chinese Kung Fu are called the grandfather of all weapons. Typically the first weapon you would learn would be a type of staff or a whipstick such as this.
Our next competitor is number A33 from the U.S., Chris Chappell, performing 7-star whipping stick.
下一位是 A33 选手，来自美国的 Chris Chappell， 套路名称七星边杆。
Okay, so this is Chris Chappell doing the 7-star 边杆, 七星边杆, which is a 7-star praying mantis version of the whipstick. So this is, you can notice that this is different movements for the last two forms, which are the same. And this is based on the Shanxi praying mantis system, so a little bit more internal compared to the other praying mantis style and probably compared to the other whipstick forms we've seen. By internal, we mean a more relaxed art, more harnessing the qi and the inner energy. The whipstick can be a very fast weapon. Characteristically, it makes that whipping sound with the air as it is wielded. And like you can see, you can use the stick to both stab with, hit the mat, hit the ground, attacking the opponent's feet. You can use it with one hand or two hands. And you can do moves that are similar to what you might do with a knife or a sword. So that was Chris Chappell with the 7-star whipstick, and I believe that concludes.
Our last competitor in this division is competitor number A02 from the U.S.,
Okay,
Mario
so
Salazar, performing Shaolin Luohan Zui Jian.
男子器械组最后一位选手，也是今天的最后一位选手是 A02 选手，来自美国的 Mario Salazar， 套路名称少林罗汉醉剑。
Okay, so we have one more competitor from the US, and he is performing a Shaolin sword routine, which is a drunken sword routine, or at least that's what the name says. 醉剑 means drunken sword. So let's see whether that's going to come across. Yep, there we go. So there we've got the characteristic drinking a cup of wine. And the drunken styles are characterized by, sudden explosive movements and then a little bit of clumsiness with a jug of wine to confuse your opponent, and often falling on the floor with your entire body. So drunken styles are actually, like we said earlier, drunken styles are very hard on the body. You have to have strong abdomen, powerful conditioning. You have to, body has to be fully conditioned to be able to take a bit of a beating because you're going to be falling on the floor. There we go, large jug of wine. So this is very similar to the drunken style we saw earlier, except he's holding a sword. And he's drunk with a sword, which really would be very confusing for the opponent. You can see the fingers, the left hand, are still held in that two-finger position, which balances out the hand with the sword. With drunken style, you don't just learn the drunken style as your only form of kung fu. So drunken forms would typically be practiced by someone who'd already learned a different style of kung fu. I believe they said this was a Shaolin Luohan, which means Arhat, the first level of attainment before Buddha. Shaolin Arhat drunken sword style. There we go, we've got drinking the wine cup there. And there's our final bow to the judges and to the audience. The Shaolin 罗汉醉剑 or 罗汉 Arhat drunken sword.
This concludes NTD's 8th International Traditional Chinese Martial Arts Competition's final round.
新唐人第8届全世界中华传统武术大赛决赛到此结束。
We'd like to thank all of our competitors for the excellent job they've done.
感谢所有选手今天的精彩表现。
We'd also like to thank our audience for attending today.
也感谢所有的观众对我们的热烈支持。
Our award ceremony will begin at 2:30 p.m. Please stick around and enjoy the final results.
我们的颁奖仪式将会在2点半开始，请大家关注。
Thank you, everyone.
感谢大家。
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the final of the 2024 New Tang Dynasty Television International Chinese Martial Arts Competition. I have been your host, Ben Hedges. It's been a pleasure to commentate on the competition this year. We will be back with the prize ceremony at 2:30. Originally, it was scheduled for 2. It's going to be a little bit later. It will be live streamed back here at 2:30. So we will see you then. Thanks for watching.